Imagine you finally managed to take that well-deserved vacation this year. You decide to move to Malaysia, where you will be spending the next couple of weeks drenched in the sun, enjoying the exotic food, interacting with the amazing people in the area, and most importantly, just relaxing in the beaches. But at night, you come across a woman who clearly has just a head and her internal organs all hanging below it. You meet the Penanggalan. What would you do? Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Mythlok with your host Nitin Nair. As you might have guessed, today's episode is all about Malaysia and the blood-sucking evil woman who also can be classified as a vampire, the Penanggalan. The Penanggal or the Penanggalan is a nocturnal vampiric entity from Malay ghost myths. Its title comes from the phrase tanggal, which means to put off or take off, due to the fact that its shape is that of a floating, disembodied woman's head with its trailing organs attached. From afar, it twinkles like a ball of flame, supplying a clarification for the will-o'-the-wisp phenomenon. Though often referred to in its native languages as a ghost, the Penanggalan can't be quite simply categorized as a classical undead being. Rather, it is a witch that developed the capacity to take such a shape through meditation in a vat of vinegar. The creature, for all its intents and purposes, a residing human being for the duration of daylight or at any time when it does no longer detach itself from its body. The Penanggalan regularly hunts at night time for the menstruation blood from females or the blood from birth. It additionally hunts for pregnant ladies and younger children as well. When we look at the physical traits of the Penanggalan, it appears to be a regular human woman during the day. However, this horrifying ghoul detaches its head at night and takes to the air on its own. Its internal organs hang below as it flies, and legend has it that they twinkle like fireflies as it flies through the moonlit night. As it flies, its long tangled hair fans around it and its glowing red eyes pierce the night. While the Penanggalan predominantly makes use of its invisible tongue to drain its prey, it is frequently depicted as having fangs as well. The range of the fangs varies from place to region, with some describing it as having two like the Western vampire, and the others declaring that the common Penanggalan is embellished with a mouthful of fangs. All such ghosts and spirits tend to have a family, and according to traditional Malaysian folklore, Penanggalan is made when an old or young woman uses black magic to attain eternal beauty. Usually, a woman makes a contract with the devil, and as part of that contract, it stipulates that she must not eat meat for 40 days. If you break this covenant, you become a bloodthirsty Penanggalan. In some cases, women died during childbirth and were turned into Penanggalans or were subjected to powerful, uncontrollable curses, but this is far less common. There is another Malaysian story that the original Penanggalan was once a beautiful priestess. One day, this priestess took a ceremonial bath in a tub that originally contained vinegar. She was taking a bath and in a state of deep meditation when a man suddenly entered her room and startled her. In shock, she jerked her head up to look at him, causing the head to be cut off from her body with such force that it is often referred to in Malaysia as the overreaction of the century. In this version of the legend, it is not entirely clear why the Penanggalans targeted pregnant women and newborn babies. Another more plausible version of this legend is that the original Penanggalan was an ugly young woman who was bitter in her single status and fervently jealous of all married women. This led to a murderous rampage that eventually killed many innocent pregnant women. As a punishment for her heinous crime, the villagers hung her head from a tall tree and tied her legs to a bull. The head was left hanging from a tree, but all internal organs remained intact. The villagers were celebrating their victory over evil, but later that night they discovered that the severed head had disappeared and that they had unwittingly unleashed hellish demons upon their small settlement. The Penanggalan exists through unique names in exceptional components of Southeast Asia. It is recognized as Balan Balan in Sabah, Tenggelong or Tenggalong in Kedah, Hantu Polong by the means of Temuan, Leyak in Bali, Kuyang in Kalimantan, Palasik in West Sumatra, Krasu in Thailand, Kasu in Laos, Ap in Cambodia, and Manangalan in Philippines. If we were to explore the different powers and abilities of the Penanggalan, it showed many similarities with that of the Western vampires. But unlike different vampiric creatures, Penanggalan are solely women and are capable to masquerade as ordinary human beings throughout the daytime, remodeling into their hideous counterparts solely at night. They have a tendency to prey upon pregnant girls and newborn babies, which is why they regularly decide for professions such as midwives. By the day, the Penanggalan mostly goes about its day as an everyday woman. At night, however, it twists its head off its physique and flies into the night in search of blood. Like a harbinger of birth, the Penanggalan perches on roofs of homes, the place female are in labor and lie in wait. As the lady offers birth, the Penanggalan will wriggle its invisible tongue into the residence and start draining the blood of the new mother. In some instances, it may also even devour the placenta, drain the blood of the newborn, and feast on the flesh of its victims as well. While the Penanggalan not often drains its victims entirely, those who have been fed on through the Penanggalan will contract a losing ailment that is nearly inescapably fatal. In modern day times, the Penanggalan was once listed as a monster in the 1981 Dungeons & Dragons rulebook Fiend Folio. In Hellboy, the Troll Witch and other comics, Hellboy travels to Malaysia in 1958, where a village devoid of the Bomo shaman has fallen sufferer to a demonic Penanggalan. In 2016, Image Comic Cry Havoc, a personality named Sri, displays that she is a Penanggalan and describes how her head detaches from her physique and slithers around like an electric-powered eel. The Penanggalan is listed as an enemy kind in the 1991 RPG Dark Conspiracy. In the place, it's described as a parasite that resides in a host's skull, detaching when threatened. As you can see, there are many similar stories all throughout Southeast Asia on the Penanggalan, many of them having similar powers and abilities and very similar motives. It is very different from what the Western world looks up to and describes as a vampire, but these kinds are a little bit more interesting to our minds. We will be looking at a lot more such devilish characters, darker characters in the days to come, but until then, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please click that subscribe button, as it is the easiest way to let the YouTube algorithm know that you like what you saw, and this should be shared with a lot more people who share our common love for mythology. Thank you very much. This is your host, Nitin Nair, signing out by reminding you once again that Mythlok is the home of mythology.